right, welcome everybody to a breaking news Retireholics. We're coming to you live and quick, down and dirty. I'd like to talk about what the news is, why maybe it happened, and then we'll talk about what it means for the future of our industry. Chadwick, what happened? What are we talking about to the people today?
The people are learning today, as we all are, that Gusto has stepped in, maybe up for that matter, and purchased Guideline.
So I've been saying this for years. These disruptors need an out, and usually when you're venture capital backed, you need that out in a 6 to 10 year period, right? The people who put in their $350 million want their money back and they want a return on it. And I've learned over the last few years, like I said, they typically want that in 6 to 10 years. So you just said that maybe they stepped up. Are you leaning towards maybe Kevin and Guideline needed this to happen, that it was time, people were clamoring for their money, or is this a successful acquisition that makes people billions of dollars?
I think successful on Gusto's end for sure, and probably on Guideline's end as well. But no, my statement was less about the investors wanting their money and Guideline's need, and more along the lines of what's next for Gusto as they continue to grow, because we know
So,
that most of Guideline's business is funneled via Gusto payroll clients.
so that's what I want to talk about last. But real quickly, let's just touch on the fact that I'm not so certain, and based on this graphic you're seeing there with the two of them, this is all we've heard as an industry, is that they have been acquired. There's no numbers, there's no details, there's only this video of the two of them and some press releases. To me, it almost seems a little like I don't know, less celebratory than it should be. And so let me lay this out for you real quick. I think somewhere in the vicinity of $350 million has been invested into Guideline. Okay. And so I think it was about 2 years ago that they had valued the company at just north of $1 billion. Gusto is worth about $9 billion. To give you some context, ADP is worth like 120 plus $billion. Okay. So
Okay.
we can get to the fact that I think this might be a good thing for Gusto, but I think this transaction happened because there was a gun to their heads, because it had to happen and things had not panned out the way they needed to pan out for Guideline. So 350 million it was invested. Their revenue is about 150 million. Okay. So what do you think? Take a
Yeah.
guess. Take a guess at what you think Guideline was bought for, what the number was. You guys have any clue?
A billion?
I don't think so.
No.
That was their no.
You don't
So
think
your
so?
spidey senses are typically pretty good, and
I
I
think it's
know
between
with the
500.
track record of these VC backed companies, I think you want it to be that too. I am not saying it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah, no, you're right.
but but Kevin did allude on the show when we had him on that this was always their end game, right? To be acquired, right? And so I'm not ready to fully commit to your thought process there.
Okay.
I hope not for their sake. I hope they've done good and shit.
We'll
But
we'll save it
One
for a more detailed
million
show, and we'll
dollars.
move on to Chad's like, what does this mean for the industry? But my personal guess, and again, full disclaimer, I'm literally just taking a stab at this. I think it was like half a billion, $500 million, and I think that that's needed money to get back to these investors. And it's been 6 to 10 years; they need their money back. I'm
Hmm.
not so
it's been
certain this is
nine.
a. I'm not so certain this is a wave flagging success. I think this is a let's get out while we can. Everyone can get their money back, and we can move on. But let's move on as well to Chad Swain. So, what does this mean for our industry? Do we now have a new competitor to ADP and Paychecks, Chad?
Absolutely, we do.
Absolutely.
And I think we always have. They've been so married at the hip. The
Already,
difference before is that you didn't have, we have a number of Gusto clients that use them for payroll, but still have an independent record keeper. And we didn't really have the worry that Gusto was going to be pounding on them to go use Guideline, because Gusto didn't have skin in the Guideline game. Now that Gusto has benefit and plans going to Guideline, if we're doing a 401k plan and they happen to be with John Hancock and the payrolls with Gusto, you bet your ass that Gusto is going to be marketing after that client now,
Sure.
just like ADP and Paychex does.
for sure they are. They have free reign now to go after their own client base. Although like you said, I probably think they probably already have done a lot of that over the last, 6 to 10 years. So I think my question for you, I'll throw this out there to you, Justin, and for everyone listening in is how good will Gusto be at bringing on new plans? And if I'm right, and the gun was two guidelines had to get this deal done, um, is all the wind out of the sails? Like, is there no motivation left to really push hard and have all the growth that they've had? And then lastly, wasn't all their growth because of that original relationship with Gusto, or at least a lot of it, not all of
A
it?
lot of it, maybe, but
And now maybe that's
yeah,
tapped.
I think there's definitely opportunity for them down the road, and they're not going to let the foot off the gas, especially if they just bought this company. They got to make their money back, right? They're going to keep building that out. Um, I'm curious. My mind was going in two spots right before you mentioned that was, hey, what's the service going to look like? This is a big disruption. We see how shit gets really, convoluted and messed up during, acquisitions for sure. Is that opportunity for the rest of us find some low hanging fruit? But bigger picture here is, are they trying to position themselves to the likes of bigger providers like Empower, like, partnering with Bestwell in any, capacity down the road, you know? And so does that make sense to you guys what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Well, what is Gusto's
What's
relationship
their
look
end
like?
game?
What is
Well, see, they
Gusto's
have
relationship
integration
look
with Empower. They have
now?
integration with Bestwell, one of the few. And so
Now
Mark
they're
and I were talking about that earlier today, and we're like, he's like, shit, dude, what if it could be something like this? What's that end game there? Because,
all right.
Hmm.
does the
Well,
industry want another payroll company in here doing 401k, or do they have bigger aspirations because they're a tech forward company?
well, let's be clear. Both Paychex and ADP are very successful in the 401k space, especially in terms of bringing on new business. We'll wrap
Hmm.
it here, but I think Chad's right. I'm not suggesting that Gusto went into this partnership or this acquisition kicking and screaming. I'm sure they sat, they measured, and they figured, hey, what a great opportunity for us to really try to compete and up our game and compete with an ADP and a Paychex. But I'm telling you, I think it was Gusto's opportunity to buy this at some type of a discount. And so we'll see how
Hmm.
good Gusto is at selling 401k going forward. And anyways, exciting news. We'll talk more about it on a full-fledged episode of Retireholics later next week. But this is a breaking news. Retireholics short bit intended to be 3 to 4